I decided to shoot this episode at the gym because easiest place to have somewhat uncomfortable conversations or the place where you're most comfortable. For me, it's a barbell or a golf course.
Also a place where everyone has headphones on and can't hear you anyway, right?
Exactly. And you hope nobody gives a shit what you're talking about. So it's like this journey, right? To be authentic has to be like really real, which means you have to sometimes tell people shit you don't want them to know. For us, that means I'm probably gonna have to tell some stuff about our family. Some people will probably get mad about it. Hearing about. Some stories are really good. Some of them, probably not so good. At some point, I'm actually gonna start talking about them. We have to get much deeper in this workout. I think it's your turn to lift anyway. So if I was to explain, so the question came up for this episode, like when I was writing out, where did my entrepreneurial spirit begin? If I had to explain where it began, it would have started before I was even born. Would have started 1962, 1963. So in 62, 63, that's when my dad acquired his first business. So he acquired his first business in a pool game. He actually played the owner of this pool hall on the south side of Fort Worth. I guess they got deep into the bet, a lot of money up, a lot of money owed, and they played one more rack, and that last rack was for the pool hall. And my dad won that, not thinking the guy would actually pay up. My dad at the time, or our dad, sorry, he was detailing cars at Freight Kit Cadillac, which used to be in downtown Fort Worth. And that guy came to the dealership that afternoon, the next day, looking for my dad, our dad, whichever, not thinking the dude was a street dude, right? So he's that dude that people in the neighborhood or city kind of avoided. So he comes in looking for dad, walks to the back where dad is, reaches in a pocket, takes out the keys to the pool hall, throws them to our dad, and says, now get out of here and go make some real money. And from that point on, our father never worked for anybody else the rest of his life. So that's kind of where it started. And then that kind of fed down to me over the years, and you know, so dad once made a comment to me when I got my first job that I just wanted a job because my friends were working at Jack in the Box. I came home wearing a Jack in the Box uniform one day. He drove me back to Jack in the Box, told me to go in and tell him I quit. And when I came out, he goes, you see all this freedom and things that we have? I said, yeah. He goes, you'll never have that punching anybody else's clock. So here we are in a gym, 5 something in the morning or 6 something in the morning, squatting with my little brother.
eyes doing this.
No, all your veins were exposed in your head though.
Oh, I believe that. Really gotta learn how to breathe when I lift again.
For it.
Should we go heavier then?
I mean,
This is round 6.
this is all up to you, bro. Like,
Okay.
I've yet to be challenged in this workout.
Fair enough. Because you'd have to do this at like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 for this to be challenging for you.
I wish. Probably like 315, 320 probably.
But here we are at
295?
295.
Yeah, so we're getting there. Man, this is the part of the video where you're supposed to talk about, supposed to tell you about my childhood and my unconventional upbringing, which kind of led to my entrepreneurial mindset. You know, like, I feel like when people have a traditional job, like traditional work, you know, they go to job, they clock in, they clock out, they invest in their 401k, all that stuff. It's based on trust. You trust that employer to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
You trust that employer to take care of you. You trust that employer to always provide security, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have any of that as a child. So, therefore, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody's principles, which leads to me wanting to be in a position where I can provide that for other people and stay true to that. Because as a child, by the time I was 3 years old, my mom was in prison, and by the time I was 4 years old, our dad was in prison. So I lost that security at a very, very young age. But you're gonna have to hold that thought because I gotta do 3 squats right quick. One. 2. So we left off this morning at the gym. It got a little hectic there, so we were under time constraints, so it made it hard to film this episode because it's a little more intimate and just all the things. So when I left off, I think I just told you guys that, by the time I was 3 or 4, both my parents are in prison. So from like 5, 6 years, 4 to 9, I kind of lived with various family members. I lived with a cousin, I lived with my dad's ex-wife, and I lived with my brother who you met earlier at the gym. I lived with his mom because his mom and my dad were dating at that time. So I lived with her towards the end of my father's sentence before he got out. And then after that, I grew up with my dad. So it's kind of where this story picks up my childhood. And so if you flow my childhood in how that affected my entrepreneurial, as like I said before, is I just had very young age, I learned how to pretty much rely on myself. I did not trust a lot of people, and I didn't trust a lot of people, so I kind of was more self-reliant, I guess, to some extent. I had to grow up fast. My mom wasn't in my life until she came back around for a little bit when I was 12 or 13, and then she was gone again until I was about 19. So So one of the curiosities you may be is, why am I telling you this? How does it explain where I come from? So, or why I'm doing this. So I believe everybody has a story, and everybody's story is different. But knowing somebody's story, where they've been, also helps you understand where they're going and the mindset they're in. So that's why I'm telling you guys my story. This video is kind of hard to make because I had to be, like I said, first video, I want this to be very authentic and very real. But that also means I have to be somewhat vulnerable. And for somebody who likes to help people, and I don't mind telling my story, because I think the trials and tribulations I've been through, I've done because at some point, sometime, me telling my story is going to help somebody else. And therefore, that has been my burden to shoulder. So I tell my story for that reason. But I want you guys to really understand where I'm coming from, and hopefully this explains my mindset and where I'm going. So early childhood, I grew up with my dad from 9 years old. I grew up in originally Fort Worth, and then moved to Arlington at a young age, about 9. Went to schools here in Arlington, elementary school, junior high, high school. My dad was extremely successful. I love to tell the story that my dad made his first million by the time he was 30. He went away, came back, and did it all again. So from that point of view, I had probably I had above average childhood. I had a lot of affluence, so I was able to do a lot of things other kids my age weren't able to do, and experience some things other kids weren't able to do. But that still didn't take away that my father was a very controlling father. He was very much used to people doing what he said, handling situations the way he told them to. So that's how I grew up. It was my dad's way, only his way. I remember one time my dad actually told me, if you fast forward, when I was pursuing professional golf and looking for sponsors, my dad was a major roadblock in that. A lot of the people I knew that could help me and had the money to sponsor me were friends of my father's. So when I would reach out to them, out of respect for my dad, they'd always say, let me talk to your dad first. And my dad came to me one time after somebody had approached him that I had approached, and they really wanted to help me. Me and my dad were eating or something, and he said, son, they're not telling you no, I'm telling you no. Because if I wanted you to have it, then you would have it. And so that pretty much sums up how it went for me. So I was to do what my dad said when he said to do it. And that was it. That was the bottom line. One of my big defining moments growing up, outside of that, was when I got my first job. So I got my first job at Jack in the Box, 90. I'm not going to tell you that because that tells you how old I am. But my first job I got at Jack in the Box. I had a couple friends that worked there, so that was the whole motivation behind getting the job there. Like, to hang out with my friends, whatever. Part-time job. I didn't tell my dad I got a job. So I came home from work one day in a Jack in the Box uniform. My dad happened to be home, and he saw me, and he was like, nah, go take that off. He didn't say nah like that, but other choice words. So we got in his car. He drove me back to Jack in the Box. He told me to go inside and tell him I quit. So you do what your father says. Walked aside, came out, told him I quit, and then I got in the car. I would get in the car, and he asked me a couple questions. He said, "Do you enjoy the lifestyle you live?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you enjoy being able to do the things that you do?" I said, "Yes." He told me, well, there's one thing I can guarantee you is that you're not going to live this lifestyle and have the freedoms that you have punching somebody else's clock. And so that works twofolds. I think at the time my dad was trying to take some of the independence I would have working a job away, because you have your own money. I'm not dependent on my father. But the other hand, I also think he was trying to tell me that I was good enough and creative enough to build something on my own. I didn't need that help from somebody else. And so it may have backfired on him, because I think he wanted a little more control of me, but all it did was it lit the fire that I'm creative enough that I'm going to go out and create whatever it is that I want. So from that point forward, if I ever did have a job, it was because they had something I wanted to learn, or they had something I was interested in, and I would go work there until with the thought process that I was only going to learn that, and then I was out. So I worked at a watch store for a little while because I really like watches, and I wanted to learn the buying process and that whole thing. So I did that. I was there for a little while. I learned how they bought their watches, where they bought their watches, what they paid for their watches, X, Y, Z, and then I was out. So that's how I kind of looked at that. And then my big pivotal moment, I think I guess I was 19. 19, my mom came home, and we're all looking for something. I was looking for approval from my mom or something. I didn't get that approval, and that's when I really realized that I'm really gonna have to stand on my own. And a lot of the way I treat people now, and a lot of the way I handle business situations, are 100% treating people and situations the way I wanted people close to me to treat me and handle me in certain situations. So, like, I'm very empathetic when I deal with people. I'm very understanding in business deals. And I want to see people win. I want to win, but I also want to see other people win. So I treat very much all my business situations the same way. Like, I go in wanting to bring as much value to a situation as I can. And I made the mistake. I did that a lot as a kid, sometimes to my own detriment. I would really try to bring value to people, sometimes at my own sanity. Like, I try to please people so much that sometimes I end up doing more damage to myself than I actually ended up being liked or whatever. But now I flipped it. I learned how to use it for the better, for the other side. So when I build businesses, I try to bring as much value to a business deal as I can while fulfilling the personal goals that I have. And I believe that you can 100% be successful and also be morally good. Yeah, there's going to be situations where, yes, I want to win as much as I can, but I don't want to win at the cost of destroying somebody else. It's just not. It's not worth it. It's not worth that much to me. So, so that's kind of how I handle my business situations. And as far as, like, people will wonder, like, what are my key mentors or influences? Selectively, my father and his success is one of my big influences. And I mean, my father, seriously, he'll tell you graduated from high school. I don't think my dad had much more than an 8th grade education. He made millions. He was extremely successful. He was a hustler, and he always found a way to make things happen. And so for that aspect, very much my father. I didn't like the way my father necessarily dealt with people, because he was always very, it's my way. I'm a win. You're going to do it my way. And so for that reason, I didn't like the way he dealt with people in that fashion. One of my other big influences is I'm a very big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. I love the way he lives his life. I love the way he tries to influence and lift people up. I would love to be a version of that. Like, I've had the opportunity to exchange some emails and stuff with Gary. Gary ever runs across this, I'd love to sit down with you. I like to have that 15 minutes you always offer your employees, but from that point of view, another big person I really like is Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross is the owner of Related Company, and founder of Related Company. The empire he built in real estate and starting at an age similar to mine. It's very motivational. I really like that. And so when it comes to like people that have kind of lit the fire, that's what you're looking at. For me anyway. And then what else you guys want to talk about? Education. I was a college dropout. I did decently in school. I'm very ADD. Medicated all through school. Just like most in the African American community, mental health is not. It's kind of overlooked. So growing up, I was very much, when I had my ADD struggles early in junior high, my dad was like, there's nothing wrong with you. Just go to school, sit down, shut up, and do what they tell you to. And then when he finally started to listen, that they were like, no, he's really got a developmental problem. And I was tested, I was ADHD. I was put on, back then I took Ritalin. And when they put me on Ritalin, I was a straight F student. I went from being a straight F student to an A student. So there was something to it. There was that. And then when I medicated, which I've tried to, in the last couple of years, I've tried to do it without medication. I've tried to find ways to manage my ADD without it. But when I'm medicated, I'm like a buzzsaw. I can get anything done, head down. I just try to not depend on medication to get that done. So I'm trying to learn how to manage that without it, but I'm never closed off to using medication to get that done again. So, but yeah, that's kind of where we are. And I'm going to try to stop giving you these talking head videos because I would like to show you something besides my office for a change. The gym's always going to be a part, so you'll always see that. But I think I was going to leave it out, but I really can't. So these are couple of things that are hard for me to talk about on camera. Actually, first time I've talked to them. I've talked about it on a talk show, but I never talked about it like in this setting. So early in my golf career, I was struggling, so I started a car dealership called Platinum Motor Cars. At the time, I was 2001. I'd met a girl. Her name was Misty Hunter. I'll throw up a picture of her if I can. This is her. Misty was that one, like the one you meet and you know. And so pretty much engaged, head over heels. Well, we were engaged. Head over heels, like the one. And at some point I got a little cold feet. I was going out a lot. I was kind of scared of that commitment thing. December 9th, 2001. I turned pro golf October 19th of 2001. So I just turned pro. It was December 9th, so it was right before Christmas. And then she had some friends that lived up just in Oklahoma, not that far away. She was going to go to a birthday party with her best friend, Tony. And the thing was, Tony was dating a guy that lived there. This guy was the cousin of somebody that Misty used to date. Misty came to me and said, hey, do you want me to go to this party? I said, yeah, being that manly, beat your chest type deal. I said, sure, go ahead. You're going to have to come home sometime. Well, life taught me a lesson that night. She didn't come home. On her way home, she was hit head on by a drunk driver. It killed her best friend instantly, and Misty died at 4 a.m. at a local hospital. So that's one of the things that really woke me up to how life works. Like it's not, no day is guaranteed. So I kind of battled through that. I took some time off from golf. I tried to focus on the car dealership thing. The biggest deal I learned is that that's not where my fire was. Like I love cars, I love the car business, but I necessarily did not want to build a car empire. At the time I wanted to play golf, I wanted to build a golf empire. I wanted to be somebody with a golf club in my hand. So I kind of went back to focusing on that. And then I came back to golf the summer of 2004. And I played a couple events early in 2004. I won one, played really well, a couple others. And then July 11th, I believe it was. Yeah, it was July 11th. No, July 9th. My mom called me. My mom lived in Houston at the time. My mom called me. She wanted me to come to Houston. I said, no, Mom, I'm trying to get ready for a tournament. I'm playing really well. I want to keep this rolling. She was having some problems with her then boyfriend, and I kind of just didn't want to get in the middle of it. So I was like, Mom, no, I can't come. So July 11th, my phone rang. It was my mom. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. It's my mom's number. I didn't answer. I was like, nah, I'm good. I'll call her back later. Rang again. I didn't answer. And then about 45 minutes later, my grandfather called. My grandfather's name was Clarence Newton. We called him Sarge. When Sarge called, you answered the phone. So I answered the phone, and all anybody said is that Renata's dead. So what had happened was my mom had been murdered in a domestic violence dispute the night before. And my mom had basically been beaten unconscious and then dumped in her pool where she drowned. So her official cause of death was drowning associated with blunt force trauma. And so once again, I was hammered again. Like that one hurt pretty good too. So when it boils down to it, that's what my life's been. I've overcome a lot. Faith has kept me from losing it. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I never turned away from a challenge. Like I dealt with it head on. I didn't hide from it, and I just try to help it grow. So I usually tell the story to hopefully help somebody else that's in that situation. Because every time you tell the story, you got to relive it. But there we are. That's where we're at. And then I hope me sharing my background with you has maybe helped a little. I'll probably elaborate on some of this stuff at a later time, but I didn't want this to drag out to a 20-minute video, which it's probably going to anyway. But if you like the video, please comment. Any questions, comment. I'll try to answer them. So much more, but we'll get to it in time, right? We're probably going to be friends now. So I thank you. Tons of gratitude for you being here. And then until we speak again, I never know how to end these things, but see you next time.